Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show. And as you can tell by the thumbnail and this glorious t-shirt, I am going to talk a little bit about my absolute favorite Universal monster movie, the horror movie, the monster movie that has stuck with me since I was a wee little monster myself. That is none other than The Creature from the Black Lagoon, a 1954 movie. Actually written by Maurice Zim, directed by Jack Arnold, with a whole cast of characters I'm going to go into in just a moment. But it occurred to me when I was watching, not this movie, but actually Dracula this evening, like 5 minutes ago, which was a 1931 motion picture. The Creature from the Black Lagoon is 75, 76 years old now, and it still holds up. It still has some of the greatest cinematography of all time for a black and white movie, at least. The underwater scenes are just stunning. You know me, guys. I'm a big fan of black and white art when it comes to the comic books and the Savage Sword of Conan and things like that. But this just reinforces my love for things black and white, probably because I'm colorblind and only see in black and white. That's not technically true, but Bear knows what I'm talking about. I watched it again this afternoon, and man, just for a little over an hour, it packs more into its time frame than anything on TV. Speaking of TV, I actually watched it on Amazon Prime because it was free, and I could not find my VHS copy of it, which wouldn't work because I don't have a VCR, but I found it for free. It's also on YouTube with a crap ton of commercials. Don't get me wrong, Amazon has one commercial break, but they jam it packed with about 10 commercials of things I have absolutely no need or desire to see, but they thought I did because I was watching it. Or that's just how it works. But either way, The acting in it is superb. The actors were perfect. Some you'll see later on in other movies and various parts and things like that. But I wanted to focus on two things when it comes to the actors and actresses. Even though there's only one actress in the movie, she was actually played by two different women. Julie Adams plays Kay Lawrence, the love interest of the star David. But underwater, she was actually played by Ginger Stanley, which was something I did not know. I just assumed it was the same actress. And is it me, or does Julie Adams remind you of someone else who was famous? I want to say Candice Bergman, but maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. But she definitely looks like she could be the mother of somebody like her or somebody famous. And then the creature himself, which was played by two different men, both the above ground or the above the water actor and the underwater actor. Ben Chapman played the creature when he was walking and did a great job. I want to do a little more deep diving into the costume because the eyes really I noticed that they actually looked more like my son has these swimming goggles, and it looked more like that's what the eyes were than anything else. And then underwater, he was played by Riku Browning. I think I pronounced his first name properly. Both actors did a great job. I hear the suit was a nightmare, and it's really hard to imagine what it must have been like to film or or even play those parts in those suits that looked, we've talked about how the Batman costume worn by Michael Keaton was a nightmare. This one, crank it up to 11 and break off that knob, because I was also watching the Planet of the Apes behind the scenes recently, because I'm going to be talking about that coming soon. Talk about makeup and prosthetics and tons of latex and spirit glue or spirit gum, I forget what they. But anyways, there was just a ton of intricacies of that costume for the creature, more so than almost any other creature, maybe other than the actual alien from Alien, that I that I can remember or that's coming to mind. It must have been just terrifying to be in that costume underwater with that heavy suit. Because I noticed that the humans wearing the rubber fins swimming underwater actually had an easier time at swimming than the poor creature who, born and bred in underwater, he really couldn't kick with those feet of his, those smaller flippers, if you will, compared to the actors. Who was it? Richard Denning, who played Mark, who unfortunately is kind of the bad guy in the movie, and meets a horrible end. And then David, I didn't write his name down. The love interest of Kay, Richard Carlson. That's who it was. They were just swimming, no problem. But poor Riku, he was just struggling. Some of the scenes it's hard to tell, but others, when he's trying to get the straightaway swim scenes, it just wasn't going very fast. And how they did the filming and the administering of oxygen to the man in the suit must have been. I mean, he had to hold his breath at the same time, have his mouth open a lot of the times. Just an incredible movie. If you haven't seen it, go out and check it out. I'm not going to go into the story because it's so short. I don't want to give anything away, but there's also a sequel, but I don't remember that one. I'm probably going to watch it and come back if you guys are interested. But do me a favor. It's only an hour and I think 10 minutes of your life. Go check it out and come back and tell me that didn't blow you away. Because every time I see Ginger Stanley doing her swimming scenes, it's so beautiful and so lovely, even though it's a horror movie. But her just swimming nonchalantly in black and white, there's very few things I've ever seen that touch me in the way that particular scene always does. And you can see why the creature, even though they're two different species, he falls in love with her just seeing her just swimming along. It's just absolutely gorgeous. But that's what I have for you right now. I will be back in 30 minutes with another video for you. More of a public service announcement, to be honest. But I will be back for Tuesday. And then tomorrow I will probably be doing another Universal Movie Monster review, just because we've only got about a little over a week before Halloween. And while there are millions of movies out there you could watch for Halloween, I'm a classic guy, and I'm going to be watching all the classics: Frankenstein, Dracula, The Bride of Frankenstein, The Wolfman, The Mummy, any of the old black and whites from the 1930s to maybe the 1960s, because after that they all get kind of schlocky, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong. The early movies, the Universal black and whites, are rough in a lot of ways and inaccurate, but they're still kind of the first ones that we ever got, especially us old guys like me, ever saw, and they still, for the most part, hold up. Even Dracula, that I was very disappointed with, still holds up well enough to make it a great base starting point if you're going to start getting into horror, and especially if you're into playing horror games. They got to be on your appendix end. But that's what I have for now. Like I said, I'll be back in 30 minutes, and until then, We'll see you all in the funny papers.